Hello everybody and welcome back to the SOB3D YouTube channel. Today we are going to be looking at the new Nino Devkits update, and in the course of this video series we'll be doing a series of videos based on making different clothing items for the new Dino body that came with the updated version of the Nino Devkits by SOB3D. So you can see a Nino collection here, and then there's a default Dino body collection here. So to view the new Dino body, all I have to do is hide this one, then view this one. So this is what the new Dino body looks like. Then to make clothing, because we'll be making clothing items, we'll be making an accessory, a messenger bag for the Dino body, and then we'll also be making a pair of shoes in this tutorial just to show us the full outfit experience of creating for this body. So to get started with creating the clothing items for the Dino body, we first of all need to export this body from the Blender dev kit. So I'm currently on the modeling file, the modeling blend file. So I press A to select everything visible in the scene. So that includes the head, the body, the hands, and the feet. And I'm going to go to file, and then I go to export as a wavefront obj. Now this is the default folder, so I'm going to call this Dino body export, and we're going to export this because we want to use Marvelous Designer. If you want to use Blender to make your clothing items, you can go ahead and use them directly in the modeling file, because the modeling file is the one that supports the seamless cloth simulations. So Dino body export selected only. Then the next thing I'm going to do is going to bump up this scale to 100 because of Marvelous Designer's scaling defaults, because the bodies won't really be visible if you export it at this scale of 1.0. So you bump it up to 100, click a blank space to set that in, and then you can press export wavefront obj. Now come to Marvelous Designer, a blank Marvelous Designer or a workspace like this one. Then I'm going to go to file. I'm going to go to either open or add, or let's use open. Then I'm going to click avatar. Then I'm going to import the Dino body export obj by first clicking it, then I click open, then I click OK. Okay, don't worry about that. So now we have the Dino body in our scene. Now if the color is a bit jarring for you, all you need to do is click the body. Click the body, then you scroll down in your property editor here. You can change the color. You can see this color here. Let's change this to blue. You can see there's a blue color, green, whatever. So I think this color is okay. You can also play around with the saturation of the color and all of that. So let's bring this down here. That's okay, but you can come back again to reduce the roughness of the body. So reducing the roughness just means making it shinier like this, and then making the body more rough means making it smoother. The intensity of the reflection, you can also play with those settings. This is fine for me. Now we're going to start sewing our clothing items for the Dino body, and then we start drawing our points. Then if I want to bring out this line, because I want to make here a curved line and I don't want to make it curved inside without having this one towards the outside, so I'm going to just press my Z. I press my Z so I can select lines individually. I press my Z, and then I now hold shift and drag it on the horizontal axis. Then this one is looking a bit too short for his body, so I'm going to use my Z tool again. Then now I'm going to press C. With C, I hover over this line, then I now drag it inside to curve it. See what I've done? I can drag it inside, this same one too, but before I drag it with my Z, I can shift this line inside a bit. I can also make this one a bit fatter. Then I can use my C and curve here, you understand? With my Z, I can select this point so that this line can be slanted a bit. Yes, just slant it a bit. Then as you can see, if we zoom in, you can see that some of the white is bleeding out of the line. Meanwhile, our lines are perfectly curved. That is because of your particle distance. So we first go to remesh. Now remesh is a subjective setting. If you do not like, let's view this in mesh view. If you do not like chord topology like this, you can uncheck remesh. If you want to work with this, that's fine, but I prefer working with this type of topology. So go to remesh, then you come down to particle distance, bump this down to maybe 15 or 10. 10 might be a bit too heavy since we're going to create multiple items in this tutorial, so we can try 15, because the lower your particle distance, the heavier your item, and the heavier your item, the lower your chances of having a successful export in InView are. So now with my Z, I right click this line, and then I'm going to unfold with symmetric sewing. Okay, so you can see, let's select this and then push it back towards him so that when we're sewing, that will be better. Then I use my A, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. I just align it with this one. Then I flip the normal, right click in the 3D view, and I go and click flip normal, drag it to the center so that it lines up. It doesn't have to be a perfect line up. Then I drag it to the back with the blue. So that's my back piece, but obviously I don't want my back piece to have a lower neck, so all I have to do is raise this up. Now you can see this has curved in ways that we don't want to expect, so just raise this up a bit. Use my Z tool and then I right click this and I delete all curved points. Then I use my C tool and curve it smoothly. Then all we need to do now is get our arm pieces, but before we get our arm pieces, we can start by sewing our front and back together. Then I press Q in my 3D view, then spacebar to play. As you can see, the shirt is a bit too short, so all I need to do is go to my Z, then shift select the line of the back pattern, then I drag them down but press shift, then I now press play again. So you can see our shirt is a bit longer, and now we're going to add our sleeves. So to add sleeves, all you need to do is draw a pattern. Just use your eyes to gauge what is double of this length, because it's going to run through this and through this as well. Depending on the kind of shirt we're doing, we can angle this a bit slimmer. Well, all we're going to do is we're going to use our Z, select here, then I'm going to click on the split option, uniform split, and I'm going to use number of segments is 2 to divide the line into 2. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect this first half to this one, then the second half to this other one. Now, to get your results on the other side without having to do this manually again, you can press Ctrl D. So down to the sewing and even the placement, it will be copied for you. Then just press play bar to effect your change. We can make the length of the sleeves a bit shorter. Now let us make a pair of shorts. In order not to get distracted, what we can do is we can use our A to select everything. So A, select this, select this, select this, select this with shift. Then I'm going to press Ctrl J to deactivate, then shift Q to hide. Shorts. We can, with A, you press A in the 2D sewing pattern, in the 2D pattern view, you can drag out a box like this. You can press Shift Q to unhide and then Ctrl J. And then now we have our shorts and pants in our scene. Let's make this part of the sleeves a bit slimmer. So all I need to do is I use my Z to select just this line, and then I right click, change length. You can guess a new length, so maybe 200 from both ends, not just the start. And then let's see how that looks. So you can see it looks just a bit smarter. And that will be all for our Marvelous Designer phase of this project. The last part of this project, of course, is to export our creation so we can work with it in Blender. But before we do that, let's go ahead and process our UVs Blender in Marvelous Designer right away. So I can change my 2D pattern window to UV editor. Because we're working for InView, and InView for the classic client requires max of 256 by 512, which is relatively small in terms of image files. We can go ahead and give each shirt piece, the front and back pieces, their own UV spaces. So we're going to use right click this and then fit UV to 0 to 1. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing for this one. So what we've done is that we've given the front its own UV space and the back its own UV space. I'm only doing this because of the classic client's InView hemisphere. For InView Studio, you can go as far as 512 by 512 and also 1024 by 1024. Those textures will work well. But for the sake of classic clients, because we want a great experience across all platforms, ultimately, we'll have to consider that we should use separate materials. So basically, everything that is layered on top of each other like this is going to constitute a different material. So take for example, now I have this, I have my shirt, and then if I press Ctrl Z to bring this one back, I now have the back part of my shirt. So now my back part of my shirt is on top of my front part of my shirt because they're going to be on two separate materials. If I do not want them to be on two separate materials, I can separate them, select the two of them and fit UV to one. But because of the texture sizes that InView permits for the classic clients, we're going to let them overlap so that we can separate them into two different materials for greater texture quality. Bear in mind that the more materials you have, the higher the quality of your textures, but the drawback to that is obviously that you have a heavier file and it's a lot more tedious working with several materials as opposed to only a handful. So now these are the sleeves. I'm just going to go ahead and fit UV to 1 and bring it a bit to the center. Now these are our shorts. Sometimes when you use the symmetrical tools in Marvelous Designer, it forgets to flip them for you in your UV editor. So you can see this one is correct, but this one we need to flip it, so you can right click and flip horizontally. So in total, you can see that we have one material for this, one material for this, one material for the two of these, another material for the two of these, and another material for the two of these. So we are going to have in total 5 materials. We can put this back in our 2D. We can press Ctrl A. Export OBJ selected or OBJ. You type the name of the file, Dino outfit OBJ. Make sure this is selected. Then yes, we want a single object. We want the options on well. We also want the options on thin, because even if we want to make it thick, we can do that in Blender. Yes, unified UV coordinates. This is okay. You just check with that. Press OK. So we're done in Marvelous Designer, and that marks the end of this part of the tutorial. Of course, obviously, we have to still texture and import everything. That will be in the later video for this series. Stay tuned for the next part where we'll be working on the shoes. That marks the end of this video, so stay tuned for the next one.